good thing that was presumed by our opponents is that you would want professors to do lots of research. And the presumption was that tenured people are the ones who do the research, the untenured sessionals do not, or can't afford to because they're scrambling around trying to keep a job. And, but as a matter of fact, they do, and I mean, you've all heard the phrase publish or perish. That's true for tenured professors up until the end of year 6. Because then by the rules of all universities, including McMaster, you either have to give the person tenure or fire them. You can't just keep them on and treat them like a sessional. And so it's, for say, the first 6th of your career, it's publish or perish. After that, it's no publish and it doesn't matter. And so, whereas the sessionals stay hungry their whole lives, and they'll keep doing research. So, if doing research to then have your instructors being frontier, you don't want some tired old guy, you want some hungry sessional.
So 5 minutes to the students. This will be the last direct rebuttal before our closing remarks.
Just a note, I think hungry would be the word for sessional professors. Plus, if they're not on a tenured track, they're no longer hungry for research because they have no incentive, which I believe is the entire thing that runs markets. And so if they don't have any future goal, why are they actually going to be hungry for research? They're hungry to get alternative sources of income, and that's pretty much it. I'd also like to note on Sven's point that inquiry-based lecture is good. Now, I'll agree that within arts and science, I have had a great time in legal inquiry. I opened the debate saying that. But we are not representative of the overall university population. Tutorials in other classes can be quite extraordinarily painful. Apparently one person knows. History 2EE3, History of Science and Technology. Great 50-minute lecture by Dr. Egan each day, 3 times a week. I learned so much. Tutorial, we got there, and the TA would ask us deep, insightful questions. No comments. He would ask us moderately insightful questions. No comments. He would ask us questions that had direct answers found in the reading, which we had to read because we'd handed in an essay that day on them. No people raised their hands. Went on for 5 weeks. Finally, in like the 6th or 7th week, people started talking, but like, oh my god, I dreaded those tutorials. That, my friends, is the vision of what all university will be like if we switch to inquiry-based style classes overall. And maybe you're going, oh, Daniel, you're taking that too far. No. Second year astronomy class. A girl raises her hand. Seriously goes, wait, is the moon a star? Do you really want that girl in your class dragging down the level of the conversation? 4 years! Up to 5 classes. No, you don't, people. Another testament to the unreliability of the intelligence of students. I believe the Rorschach patches of vomit down Sterling on any given Saturday morning can speak more for the intelligence of students when left to their own devices than myself or Daniel ever can. It is the professor's duty. It is their job. It is what they are trained to do, to lead us through our university careers and teach us what we need to know about the real world before we go discover it for ourselves. How are we supposed to do this on our own? Are we supposed to lead ourselves through our university career, teach ourselves about the world before we go experience it ourselves? That seems like it doesn't make sense. And it probably doesn't. I'm going to take a break now until closing remarks, but enjoy.
So just a quick straw poll, this is the moderator's discretion. Would both sides like 20 minutes to compose themselves before we start with closing remarks? Yes, no? No. 20 seconds, sorry. All in favor? All opposed?
How long are
We
closing
think it's
remarks?
up to the students.
Straw poll, quick straw poll for 20 seconds. Allow both sides to compose their thoughts before we enter into closing remarks. All in favor? All against? All abstaining? This motion clearly passes. I'll let you guys know when 20 seconds are up. And we'll begin with the professors for the closing remarks.
There's also medical humanity who are learning quite Oh, it could be so funny. I do want to take health problems.
Okay, we will now start with professors for the closing remarks. They'll have each will have 7 minutes. I'll give you 1.5 minute warning. Unless you guys want to give you any other time warnings. The default is 1.5.
Wait, how long is it?
7 minutes.
No.
I'll just address quickly the personal attacks that hurtful in those last comments from my very learned friends. Firstly, against the other students, I mean, who are we to say what is and is not a star? We can very easily pass legislation. Unless you don't believe in democracy. Stellar Bodies Act could easily define a star, whatever your students in the second year astronomy say it is. I think the elitist approach is one that you should be ashamed of. Moving more to the closing remarks, I wanted to quote briefly from the McMaster University mission statement, which I'm sure guides each and every one of us in our learning and in our classes, but in our daily lives. And according to this mission statement that's been used to launch 1,000 marketing campaigns, at McMaster, our purpose, that's what we're here for, is communication and preservation of knowledge. We inspire critical thinking, personal growth, and a passion for learning. We serve the social, cultural, and economic needs of our community and our society. And I put it to you that the critical thinking and personal growth that happens doesn't happen when you're hit with a fire hose of knowledge. It happens when you sit there and debate amongst yourselves about what is and what is not a star. That is what really induces a passion for learning. In terms of serving the social and cultural and economic needs of the community, obviously I think it goes without saying that the economic needs of Bay Street lawyers are at the foremost of McMaster's concerns. So I appreciate the move towards sessional lectures, and I think it's overall a good thing. But at the end of the day, what my opponents really are arguing about is they're arguing against critical thought. They are arguing against education. They're arguing against having lower costs. And last but not least, they're arguing for more lawyers. So I put it to you, they just can't be right.
I'll just add a couple of points. First of all, just a kind of a footnote on the careless empirical work done by our counterparts here. I mean, and this, I guess, is what comes from just being a receiver and not learning to critically think on your own. I mean, this presumption that these items you were discussing, that you were stepping around on Sterling Street and so on, the presumption that this was done by students, as opposed to the tenured professor. It's that kind of carelessness that comes from just being a sponge absorbing things in class. And I'll just give yet one other example of how the position that we're trying to defend in this debate could undo tensions in society. Right now we're hearing so much about the sort of generational conflict, the aging of the population, and how when the older generation is retired, there'll be so many of us and so few of you to do the work to pay our pensions and all this. And so this is really a massive income redistribution from my generation to yours and so on. And I would think you would be interested in doing anything you could to try and fix up that problem a little bit. And so it would be good to have professors who, in their older age, they could still be involved in teaching. And can you imagine, just put yourself in a position when you've been a tenured prof for 30, 40 years, getting this outlandish salary, and then you retire, and then you're offered this measly stipend to keep your hand in. And it's just such a hard thing on your ego to take that wage cut. So not many professors seem to do that. But again, if the person was always a sessional, so this wasn't a wage cut, and if the courses were inquiry-based, so you didn't have to, you see, one of the problems when you're an older professor is you have to remember, it's harder to remember where your old yellowed notes are that you've been using all these years in the old-fashioned way of teaching. And of course, in the new-fashioned way of teaching, you don't need any notes. You just go and sit there. And the only challenge is you got to stay awake all the time. So I think this massive influx of all that human capital that's been built up all these years that would still be available to the university. So this notion that the costs aren't going to go down is just, well, crazy. So you get the lower costs and you get this decrease in generational warfare. And I just cannot understand how a reasonable person would possibly argue against the position we've maintained. Thank you very much.